I don't see that. Yeah.
Oh.
Someone. Yeah, I think we are good, right?
It says we're recording, so.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I'm
relying
on
on
transcription. Let me see here. That's recording. Okay.
Okay. Good morning, Nils.
Morning.
Shall I say howdy? Nils, you started as the first chair of the Lone Star Section.
I did.
Exactly when the section split from November 2019. And that was a challenging time. So always, you know what they say, the captain who just lead the boat at the beginning has the toughest job, actually. Then everybody else can whatever manage it. So do you mind sharing with us, before anything else, what's the challenge you encountered at that time? Especially, I remember that time was critical because of the COVID.
Right. We initially, there were concerns because we had a very positive relationship with the Central Texas section. We were all in it. We knew all the volunteers. There were some concerns and a little bit of shock. And there was also some that said, about darn time, I was wondering when you're going to do that. So it made sense to everyone, just because we could focus on San Antonio and they could focus on Austin. There were some details in the financials and where do you draw the line, and we basically drew the line between San Marcos and New Braunfels. The strange thing that split did, since Texas State obviously went to Central Texas, was that we ended up in San Antonio with more student branches than they did, because it's just the way the college system is in San Antonio. There was also a little bit of, not so much with the Central Texas folks, but with like the folks in Dallas, consternation on the name. I was kind of neutral on it. A lot of our folks were very strongly opinionated that we wanted to be called Lone Star. And of course, the people in Dallas were concerned that implies the whole state. And we had to politely remind them where the Alamo was. But after, quite frankly, a lot of phone calls on that, they let it go through. So that was fine.
Yeah, Walt has the courage actually to go behind that. I'm glad we got that from them.
Walt was very much, we're going to be called Lone Star. Yes, sir. Okay, we'll make it work. And then so we had the blessing of a lot of experienced and very capable volunteers. So getting it off and running with all of our initial positions was good. There was a Never Land period from when we formed it to the new year, the new IEEE year in January. We were sort of getting everything together, and their IEEE reporting can sometimes lag a bit, but that all caught up. But then COVID hit, and obviously that was a problem for IEEE internationally. But especially when you're starting a new section, hoping to get some momentum, it was quite the challenge. We worked through it. They had the different tools for that, and both at the sections maintained active, again, virtual. The region was very helpful in enabling that, even having sessions on how to do virtual meetings and stuff. So very, very straightforward there. And then after we started coming back to work, we had some in-person XComs, and then our planning meeting where we were still wearing masks. And we did it hybrid because there were some people who were very sensitive to that. And we're still, mainly because of the convenience, running both our XComs and our 2 planning meetings hybrid. There's somebody, because we say San Antonio, but we really are a fairly big geographic area. And so sometimes it's a lot easier for someone to join in that way.
So do you mind, that being said, do you mind explain the geographical area that's covered by the Lone Star section?
Yeah, if you look at our new logo that Walt put out, it actually shows the chunk of Texas. It goes down to the valley and out west, I think to Kerrville. It covers a lot of counties, and the way IEEE does it, it's by zip code. And so
Schreiner University is included.
I don't believe it is. I think
Mhm.
they might be on the edge, or they don't have an IEEE section because I don't know if they have engineering there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it covers a big geography. Now, 90+% of our membership is within the San Antonio, you were within 1604, so to speak. So it, we do get folks attending from Uvalde and other places, but it's really mostly San Antonio. But we have a big geographical area. It's just like most of Texas, that's not, some of that's not densely populated. It also overlaps when we do our both IEEE USA, but also the state version of the Congressional Visits Day. We overlap some congressional districts because they don't line up with zip codes real well, and they're always changing. So, but we figured
I
it out.
remember I remember when we exchanged emails, you told me about some challenge you faced with some of the student branches. Do you mind
Yeah,
talking about that?
it wasn't anyone's fault, you know. And Central Texas had a very good student lead who became their section chair. Uh, it was there in Austin or San Marcos, and the San Antonio student branches hadn't had a lot of attention. There was confusion on some of the financial side. There was also a lack of officers, and part of the problem is the students turnover, right? So we're Garrett Hall, who at the time was our student liaison, spent an awful lot of time, especially with UTSA. It helps that he was an alumni from there, getting out organized, then also bringing in the other student branches to where now they're very vibrant, and they are our only student branch to have actually student branch chapters for like robotics and other areas. So that's great. They also have an Eta Kappa Nu chapter there. So
Yeah,
um,
that's always what I'm saying. They need some mentors. They need somebody to be there,
we also didn't
especially
have, yeah,
especially the old foxes, life members.
we also didn't have good connections at any of the branches with the student branch advisor because it was kind of a role nobody wanted. So we talked to the different uh, department chairs around town and said, hey, look, this is really important. And they got some people that were engaged in that. And so that's helped out as well. In fact, Wenbin Lowe at St. Mary's is great. And now Kevin
Okay.
Martin, who was a student branch advisor, is now back as student branch at Trinity, and he's doing great. So it helps to have that buy-in for IEEE with the advisor. So
Okay.
that was
Okay.
a,
That sounds good. Actually, when I talked to Garrett, Scott, everybody told me everything was smooth at the beginning. We had no issues at all. I'm glad, beside the name maybe, but everything went fine. I'm
it
glad we
went,
did that.
you know, for breaking off a section and starting effectively a new section, it went pretty well. You know, we at and I think both in the case of the folks that became Lone Star and also the folks that remained Central Texas, that everyone tried to make it work. There was no gear sand, so to speak. They recognized, although they miss us, you know, why we're doing it, and we're very helpful. It helps the Central Texas, and then also as a split both for financially healthy. That makes it a lot easier too.
Mhm.
And so,
Yeah,
so
Nils, always the first chair has a vision. Looking at the section now,
sure,
do you see what you had vision that time?
sure. You know, we're trying to establish ourselves as sort of a technology nexus for San Antonio, but also to raise the profile both for our members and for the community. We have work to do there, but we've made good progress. We've also added 2 new student branches, which we're happy about. And they're very active. We've held a surprising number of conferences, and we're working on a bunch more for San Antonio that not only gives our membership opportunity, but obviously it's a financial boost as well. So uh, there's a lot going on. We still have to go through each of the chapters for whatever society, make sure they're healthy. There's a few that need to be meeting more often. There's a few that needed new officers. So we were working on that a lot last fall and have a fairly expansive set of new officers. Um, so everyone always says we got to have more volunteers, and that's true. But we transitioned pretty well. We had some hiccups with the the new secretary, because Ernest was term limited as well.
Yeah,
But
he'd
we
been
found
secretary
somebody.
for 5 years. Yeah.
So it's been pretty good on that. There's always something to look at, and especially the connection that IEEE in San Antonio, especially through our Life Members group, has with SAMSAT is fantastic. That's such a great place. It's, if you're into tech history, it's fantastic, but it's also a great place when you realize that's a way of exposing STEM education to the population. In a lot of cases, because of where it is, the population who wouldn't naturally be exposed to that. So
That's
running
true.
those
That's
students through
true.
there, seeing the
Yeah,
excitement is just great.
yeah. What I'm seeing actually is the focus, and I'm following Walt all the time. There is a focus in the schools and their
Right.
activities, what they are doing, the expansion, membership development. I like that. And as a new section, always you worry about the membership development, how many
Yeah.
members we can have in the city. But looking at what we have now, almost we have 1,000. When I talked to Joe last time, he said my newsletter goes to almost 1,500 people.
Yeah,
And
no,
that's
that's
great. I mean, if you look at that in 5 years, that's a great achievement. My second topic, Nils, uh, is about you, actually. Your story is inspiring because, for a reason, most of the volunteer, if you look at the active volunteers, let's be honest, on the IEEE in general, and maybe in our section, are life members, retired engineers, retired professor, retired science. But looking at you and Walt especially, I mean, looking at you, you are very busy. You are vice president of the Southwest Research Institute, which many people, they don't know what the Southwest Research, it's almost a billion, 800, last year it was $870 million turnover with research, development, testing for military, for NASA, for everything. So you are very busy, man. And recently I just saw your post about that huge hydrogen tank. That tells me you are really very busy guys. Then with all of this, you still dedicate a lot of your time to be a volunteer for the IEEE and for the section. Really, what motivates you? This should be an inspiring story for everybody. So people will not think, yeah, go ahead.
I like it. It's always been interesting. It's always, you're doing good for our profession and our communities. The other is the volunteers, especially at the section level and below, are just incredible to work with. I mean, I've worked for years with the folks that are still in Central Texas, and they're great. I'm not sure. I've never really done much other than represent the section at the regional stuff. The other I'm enjoying right now, it's a lot of work, is I'm the chairman of the IEEE USA R&D Policy Committee. So a lot of the point papers, the CHIPS Act, all that stuff, we actually write and promote position papers for that. It's really interesting. And again, just the quality of people, because they're industry professors from all around the country, people that used to have positions in government. Turn that off. Yeah, it's just enjoyable, and again, you're surrounding yourself with good, dedicated people. It's also, as we've been doing some of these conferences, we've had a core group sort of setting up the UAS competitions, and it's great to see the college teams, but it's incredible when we go typically for the Digital Avionics Systems Conference and hold a local high school, just the excitement, and it's the drones will hit something and break. It's like watching an Indianapolis pit crew. They run in, they go fix it real quick. But it's generating excitement in the area, and so
does this helping you professionally? Do you benefit from the IEEE?
So I always tell our staff who are like on the fence about joining, so how are you going to maintain your technical edge? What I mean, yes, you can go buy a book, you can read it, but IEEE, even if you just read Spectrum, is going to keep you up to date on what's going on across our profession.
I'm glad to hear that about Spectrum.
So and maybe it's on quantum computing, and that's not your area, but at least now you're aware of what that is, right? So it's a matter of how you're staying current and relevant. It's encouraged but not required at the institute that we do that. but it's obviously recognized, especially if you're in a leadership position. That's a good thing. I always tell the staff, I said, join as many of these societies or organizations as you want. Be active in at least one. It doesn't have to be IEEE. Maybe it's Project Management Institute, or maybe it's ASME. Fine, great, but be active in one.
That's true. That's true. I remember working for M&S Engineering in Spring Branch before almost 12 years. And Brian Youth, he was the president and one of the partners of the company. The company, to tell you, the company would pay the membership for everybody, anybody. They will encourage everybody to join the IEEE. And always he has a good words to say to everybody. Hey, guys, if you think that it doesn't benefit you to be affiliate, to be a member of the IEEE, then something wrong. Guys, we are buying everything. We are paying everything. We are sending you to activities. Stuff. That's amazing. Yeah, I always encourage a professional to be really part of the IEEE. It helps a lot.
And I understand the concerns on cost, but it's trivial to maintain your technical edge. If you look at, I've reminded people once in a while, I know what you pay or what you're paid, but how much is it worth to stay on top of your profession? And even as IEEE rates go up, it's not a big deal.
Just buy a good book. If you want to buy a good book, you pay 40, 50.
Oh, these college books,
yeah, that's true. That's true. I have 5 minutes more, Nils, and I want to talk about interesting story about the Southwest Research Institute. I noticed really, even I had a field trip when we were in Central Texas section to the Southwest. We toured the whole facility and we saw some cartels. So, but I noticed something important about you guys. You engaged a lot with the IEEE. A lot of activities you are hosting it. Many of the active members of the IEEE are really employee or ex-employee of the Southwest Research. So what motivates you as a leadership of the Southwest Research to be really engaged with the IEEE? And what do you do and why you are doing that? And does it benefit the South Research Institute itself?
Yeah, it does. We've always had good support over the years of IEEE at the Institute. I'm never happy with people that aren't members, but we encourage that. It's also convenient because we have a central cafeteria with meeting rooms where we can hold lunchtime meetings. And so even if we open it up to the section, we can hold the meeting on whatever brown bag topic is there. It's convenient, go get your lunch, walk in. A lot of the sections, Power, or chapters, Power, Life members have a restaurant they meet at regularly, and that's great. They're the bigger chapters, and they can do that. So we try to offer that. The other nice thing about offering it here on campus is we'll put an internal global post out, and maybe you're not an IEEE member, but you're still welcome to come. So if nothing else, now we've exposed new staff to IEEE. We've actually had people join after attending those because they just didn't think about it before. So it's something that Walt and I are both very good about. When we see a new double E, we do the, are you an IEEE member? And if not, let's fix that. So, and then let's get you involved. So it's, there's a lot, and we're heavy. One thing we do need to, and Walt's our industrial outreach person, we need to get with other employers like City Public Service and a few others who are large engineering employers, some of the construction firms. And
I was expecting
it's a challenge with the IEEE OU Analytics because it only has your employer if you put it in there. It's an optional field, so we're never quite sure who's at what employer. But that's something that we'll just work on. And
that's true. Is there any financial contribution from the Institute to the IEEE or the local sections?
Not as like a stipend or something. However, the Institute does sponsor, whether it's UAS competitions, the different conferences. They obviously host a number of things. So it's not a direct financial payment, but there are throughout the year a number of sponsorships that the Institute does. Probably totally.
Well, because the Institute is non-profit at the end also.
It is, but this is within our charter. So And it's, in fact, this morning, Garrett Halls was just setting up our local UAS, and he was talking about financing. I might just send the check request to Walt. So it's,
That's true. That's true.
so,
Is there any final word, story, inspiring story you want to share about your journey with the section, a message to the members, student members especially?
yeah, I think, in fact, I was with some UTSA student members last Friday. I'm on their engineering advisory board, and I was reminding them something we need to engage with the student branch chapters more is, how do we maintain that IEEE connection? Because if they're from San Antonio, staying in San Antonio, great, we're here. But maybe they're from Oklahoma or overseas. Well, we still want them to maintain their IEEE membership. So that's an area for improvement with us, but probably with IEEE as a whole, of keeping track of and connections to through the young professionals, the student membership, because that's a lot of the volunteers in IEEE are older. So that's great,
That's true.
but
That's
we need
true.
them, we need them
That's why
across
you.
these generations.
That's true. That's true. That's why your story and Walt's story always inspiring me. You know, they are busy, but still they are engaged and very active actually.
Yeah, so it's been fun.
Yeah,
It's not
I like to hear
it's not
that.
a
It's
trivial amount of
joy.
work, but
That's true. I enjoy a
but
lot. I enjoy a lot of that.
I've never worried about the extra work needed to do it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your service, for what you are doing, Nils. It was a pleasure talking to you
Right?
and
And I
looking
will
forward.
probably after lunch send you the recording and transcript.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will review everything and come back to you. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Enjoy your day and be safe.